You ever bumped your toe and got upset at the door for bumping your toe, or got upset at the object for bumping your toe? Or if you ever bumped into an object and dropped something and found yourself apologizing to the inanimate object, that isn't just a coincidence. It's actually rooted in something that comes from Indigenous culture. And this is something that I discussed in my latest documentary where I traveled to Japan and spoke to an Ainu woman. Ainu is the indigenous community of Japan who's currently facing a lot of discrimination, and that's what the documentary unpacks. We talk a lot about not just the discrimination that they're facing, but how they're kind of fighting back against it in ways that you can help as well, get informed and fight back as well. So you can check that out on YouTube at Incendiary Balloons at the link in my bio and also on incendiaryballoons.com. But going back to the initial point, and this is what we discuss, in Ainu culture, objects are often seen as alive. So, these were, I guess you could say, inanimate objects had souls that needed farewell rituals. Everyday objects weren't seen as inanimate, like in the way that Western culture might view them. And the best example of this might be, a fishing spear or a knife or a pot had what's known as a ramat in Ainu language, which basically roughly translate to soul or life essence. So when an object broke or was worn out, it had to be thanked and sent off, almost like a funeral for the object or for the tools. Broken utensils were placed near sacred fires or in rivers with offerings and prayers asking the object's spirit to travel peacefully to the divine realm. And neglecting this could invite misfortune and chaos into your life because, unused things suffer. And that was the concept that Ainu people lived by, is unused things were forced to suffer. And the same applied to hunting weapons. So spears and traps used to kill animals had to be spiritually purified afterwards because they carried the animal's death energy. So this kind of gives you a glimpse into like the morality and the spirituality, where objects had emotion and ownership implied a spiritual responsibility. And I think that's something that's really lacking in Western culture, which is spiritual responsibility. And that comes from capitalism. Capitalism is rooted in stepping back and removing all responsibility, not just spiritual. It's just all product. And what can I extract from this object? What can I take from this object? And, without directly abating in it, we still exist in it, which by proxy we abate it. So there's so much ingrained into Western society where we just extract, and that's also rooted in its own imperialist and colonialist issues. But extraction is really the downfall of so much. And I think if more of these sort of traditional and indigenous and black or Ainu ways of philosophies were ingrained into modern day life, modern day society, modern day governance, and we lessen capitalism. I mean, like, I would consider myself a socialist. But if we kind of strayed away from that capitalist viewpoint of extraction, and not just in the physical and material, but also it's really present in, modern relationships. Everything is kind of transactional. What you can do for me, I can do for you, and very soul draining. So if we can walk away from that, and I say we, not as somebody who's a part of it, because I would say a lot of black people, indigenous people, people of color are not a part of it. We're the ones who are being extracted from. We're the ones who are being exploited. So I don't know why I'm saying we. I just have a habit of saying we, but really, if we can bring down the system of white capitalism that's hurting us and extracting from us and force them to return back to this, a lot will positively change.